had been collecting old cameras for as long as I could remember, but none caught my interest quite like the one I found at the dusty corner of an estate sale. It was a classic, a 1950S Leica, its black body still gleaming under the layers of age and neglect. What sealed the deal was the roll of undeveloped film still nestled inside. I was ecstatic about the find. As I developed the film in my darkroom, the photographs emerged slowly, revealing what seemed to be ordinary family portraits. There was a woman with perfectly curled hair and a bright smile, a man with a stern look softened by the child he held in his arms. All perfectly normal if it weren't for the subtleties. In the first photo, the family was lined up by an old oak tree, the father's eyes not on the camera, but staring off to something just out of frame. His expression was one of disquiet. The next photo showed the child, her eyes wide and tearful, looking not at the camera, but at the same unseen point, her small body tense as if ready to run. Each successive photo told a similar story. They were in different settings, always with their attention directed at something just beyond the picture's edge. A creeping unease settled over me. The last photo on the roll was different. All three were in the frame as though someone else had taken the photo. They weren't smiling. Instead, they stood close together, the father holding a baseball bat, the mother clutching the child so tightly it must have hurt. All of them stared directly at the camera, or rather, through it, their faces pleading for help. I shook off the initial shock, rationalizing that it was a staged series of photos meant to spook whoever developed them. Yet sleep eluded me that night. Every creak and sigh of my house sounded like stealthy footsteps. Every shadow seemed to conceal a lurking figure. The next morning, driven by morbid curiosity, I decided to find out more about the camera's previous owners. My search led me to an old newspaper article about the Delaney family who had vanished in the late 50s, leaving their home undisturbed, dinner still on the table, the TV still on. They were never found, and no explanation ever fit the scene. Included in the article was a photo of a drawing made by the daughter, a sketch of an ominous figure lurking just outside their home. As I read the article, the room chilled. The feeling of being watched crept over me, the hairs on my neck standing on end. Reluctantly, I turned to look behind me, half expecting to see whatever got the family to be standing there, waiting for me. There was nothing, of course, just the shadows. But sometimes, late at night, I swear I can hear the faint click of a camera shutter and the quiet whispers of a family, stuck forever just out of sight.
Scary. Like it. Second story.
My son wants to go to hell, but hell doesn't want him. My son all of a sudden wanted to go to hell, even though he was 19 years old. He became highly erratic and crazy about going to hell, and he wanted me to help him go to hell. I was just so confused about this, and everyone wants to go to heaven usually and not hell. He started calling me a useless father for not knowing how to go to hell. He started off doing bad things to people, like robbing things and being violent. He became a liar and started committing a lot of sins. When he summoned a demon and asked whether he could go to hell, the demon told my son that he wasn't evil enough to go to hell. Then my son went from 0 to 100 when he started pouring acid on people's faces. He picked out pretty people and poured acid on their faces. He even got into a fight with someone because my son didn't pour acid onto his face, which meant that person wasn't good looking. My son just slashed his face, stole a car, and drove off laughing. Still, my son was not evil enough to go to hell, and he was furious. He even told me off for not doing enough for him and helping him get to hell. He would shout at the floor and demand that hell should take him. He started pouring acid on more pretty people's faces. He upped his antics, and he became much worse, and his violence became more volatile. He was a fan of people who had died and came back and went to hell for a moment. He would ask them what hell was like, and even though they tried to scare him about hell, it only made my son want to go to hell even more. My son, at this point, had ruined so many pretty people's lives by throwing acid on their faces. When my son asked a demon whether he could go to hell, the demon said no. The reason my son was still not accepted into hell after throwing acid at pretty people's faces was that he has actually freed pretty people from the chains of constantly having to look good by being ugly now. My son had unintentionally freed people from being pretty, and now they are leading more enriched lives, which isn't shallow or materialistic. My son was furious, and he even hurt the demon. My son is doing his best to get into hell, but hell doesn't want him.
Third story.
I woke up and have no idea who I am. When I was around 30, I was in a severe car crash, narrowly escaping death. When I woke, I had memories that weren't mine. I remembered a woman with dark red hair that I remembered to be my mother, but my mother was a bleach blonde and had died almost a decade ago. Slowly, the doctors were able to convince me to let go of those folk memories, and I was able to readjust to life. Although I often found myself struggling with small things in my memory, like remembering if I had watched a show or not, or my wife's birthday. Now, here's the thing, I don't remember any of this. About a week ago, I woke up in bed next to an unfamiliar woman. I panicked, not knowing who she, or even I, was. She was able to calm me down and kept telling me I was her husband. I don't have any memory of being married, or any memories at all, really. After I woke up, the woman, my wife, left and made a phone call. She was in the other room, but she talked, rushed, and panicked. When she came back, she told me her name was Erica and mine was James. I was born in 1992, married her in 2018. I think I was so shocked, I just agreed. Looking back, I don't know why I didn't protest. Because how do you spend 32 years alive and not remember any of it? Now it's been a week, and Erica keeps telling me stories about myself. About my childhood, our relationship, my work, things I barely grasp the concept of. I just lay in bed all day, mindlessly listening to her narration of my life. I'm honestly just scared now. I am starting to realize the gravity of whatever the hell is happening to me. Of who me even is. I can't tell her. She just says she knows I'll remember soon. I haven't seen another person either, despite her telling me about family, friends, and co-workers. As I lay in bed typing this with a phone that doesn't seem like mine, I grow panicked as I realize I don't know this woman. I don't know this house. I don't know me.
Third story.
The Forgotten Playground. I never believed in urban legends until I visited the old playground near my childhood home, a place shrouded in eerie tales of vanished children. Last summer, nostalgia pulled me back to see it, now overgrown and silent, its rusty swings swaying gently in the wind. As I stepped through the creaking gates, I noticed the merry-go-round painted an unsettling shade of red, oddly fresh amidst the decay. Drawn by its vivid color, I approached and saw her, a little girl in a tattered dress, standing by the swings, her eyes wide with a silent plea. "Are you okay?" I called. She remained silent, her gaze fixed on me. As I moved closer, she vanished into thin air, leaving behind a chilling presence and a small, worn shoe half buried in the dirt. The old stories of children disappearing without a trace suddenly felt all too real. Shaken, I left quickly, the whispers of the past echoing behind me. At home, I searched for any clue about the playground's grim history. My findings were chilling. A newspaper clipping from 1953 reported a girl missing, the very girl I had seen. That encounter changed me. I now understand some places hold onto their dark pasts, and some legends are rooted in truth. The playground, still and silent, keeps its secrets. I'll never return, and I advise others to steer clear as well. Not every ghost story is just a tale.
Like so, I can release new letter.